Chapter 235, I'll break their legs. Apologize? Wen Chai's words made Zhu Tuer sneer. Mr. Wen, can you not be so childish? Is your apology worth a lot of money? It's not valuable at all. I don't need it. You're thinking of apologizing now? What were you doing earlier? Wen Xiao stood there and allowed Zhu Tun to scold and ridicule him. After so many years, the outer edges of his body had long been worn down. If Zhu Tui had scolded him like this 10 years ago, he would have jumped up and challenged Zhu Tun to a life and death battle. But things are different now. To an adult, results were the most important. To be honest, Zhu Tui was a little surprised that Wen Xiao was standing there and allowing him to scold him. He knew when to yield and when not to. To put it in a more derogatory way, Wen Xiao was someone who would do anything to achieve his goals. It was impossible for him to be stung by conscience. If one were to look at it from this angle, it would make sense that Wen Xiao had tricked Zhu Tui twice and secretly gave Zhu Tui a warning. Wen Xiao had his own motives. Do you feel better now that you're done? Zhu Tui stopped talking. Wen Xiao, who had just been scolded by Zhu Tui, squeezed out a smile. Zhu Tui, I will still say the same thing. If you continue like this, it will not do you or us any good. Tell me, what will it take for you to stop? This was Wen Xiao asking Zhu Tun to state his conditions again. Zhu Tui had a condition after he thought about it. Mr. Wen, it's very easy for me to stop. Zhu Tui also smiled. Say it, I'll definitely do it if I can. Then revoke my warning first. We'll talk about the next step. After he finished speaking, Zhu Tui pointed at the communication device on his wrist. I received a notice from the logistics center yesterday that they were going to reduce my treatment due to the punishment. Well, if you revoke this warning, my treatment should be restored. I should be able to receive a message. Zhu Tui smiled after he finished speaking. He turned around and left. He did not want to be entangled with Wen Xiao anymore. Wen Xiao was left behind in a daze. The smile on Wen Xiao's face was as bitter as it could be. Revoke warning? Zhu Tui had overestimated Wen Xiao. The Wuxia Genetic Evolution College was not opened by Wen Xiao, nor was it opened by his teacher, Zheng Shahong. The Wuxia Genetic Evolution College had been able to stand strong for 100 years in the Great Genetic Age. Apart from the strong support of the Genetic Committee and the full management of the past principals, the most important thing was the rules. The school rules were for everyone. It was not something that anyone could change just because they wanted to. It was just like the warning and punishment he had given Zhu Tui previously. He had followed the school rules and the rules of the new students. Therefore, the punishment for this warning went extremely smoothly. The facts were clear, the procedure was just and no one could stop it. The school administration office only did a quick check before they stamped it and filed it away. It was also because of this that in Zhao Soxui and Bian Yuan, the vice teacher of the School of Enlightened Mind, could only quietly watch Zhu Tui be punished after they received the news. No one could change that because the rules were there. It was useless even if Zhao Soxui wanted to make a scene. Wen Xinglan, the principal of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College, wanted to help. However, he had to change the school rules first. The rules were huge. However, at the same time, the Big Saber rules was held against Wen Xiao's neck. Wen Xiao followed the rules and punished Zhu Tui with a warning. Everything went smoothly. However, he did not have the ability to revoke Zhu Tui's warning. Even his teacher, Zheng Shahong, did not have the ability to do so after becoming the dean of the Mystery Branch College. Not to mention, of course, there were exceptions. Unless Wen Xiao could prove that Zhu Tui's absence from class previously was a lie. However, the leave slip was still there. It was a dead end. Suddenly, Wen Xiao realized that this matter had reached another dead end. Zhu Tui had raised the conditions, but he could not fulfill them. Revoke the warning punishment? Is this kid deliberately making things difficult for me? This thought suddenly appeared in Wen Xiao's mind. Zhu Tui had done it on purpose. He was not deliberately making things difficult for Wen Xiao. However, he knew very well that it would be extremely difficult to revoke a warning. He could either wait for the 3-month period to end, or he could have an anti-evidence chain. Of course, in Zhu Tui's mind, if Wen Xiao could really revoke the warning, Zhu Tui was prepared to play an even bigger game with him. The rules of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College were not child's play. When Zhu Tui returned to his original stand, Gong Ling and Zhuo Qingqing looked at Zhu Tui differently. They could already tell that Zhu Tui was causing trouble. Causing trouble for the supernatural branch. Yesterday and today, he had broken 6 legs and forced someone to admit defeat. How could it not be true? Zhu Tui, if I go on stage to challenge you tomorrow, you won't rush up and break my legs, right? Zhuo Qingqing suddenly looked at Zhu Tui warily. Gong Ling also became nervous. How can I? Zhu Tui laughed in an exaggerated manner. You are my creditor. I would not dare to break your leg. At least you have a conscience. Zhuo Qingqing heaved a sigh of relief. If Zhu Tui really broke the legs of all the supernatural students who had obtained a ranking on the Year 1 Longhu list, she would rather not obtain a ranking than break her legs. It would be inconvenient to live with a broken leg. She might not even be able to take care of herself. That matter was too terrifying. Little Tui, is it because of that warning? Gong Ling suddenly asked. I guess. I talked to Qingqing last night. Mr. Wen has indeed gone overboard with the warning. Actually, there are geniuses like you in the first few batches. They also missed classes on a large scale, but the school did not pursue the matter. Because in essence, letting them take some unnecessary classes is a waste of these geniuses' time. At this point, Gong Ling suddenly waved her little fists and shouted, Little Tui, I support you. Although I'm a supernatural type, I support you. Zhu Tui was stunned by Gong Ling's movements. Oh, her breasts, it was like a surging wave. Qingqing, you should stand with Little Tui, right? Gong Ling subconsciously asked for Zhuo Qingqing's opinion. I'll stand. Zhu Tui's eyeballs are going to pop out if you continue to move around. Zhuo Qingqing's angry words made Gong Ling's face turn red. She pulled Zhuo Qingqing and ran towards the arena. Little Tui, we're going to watch the battle. It had to be said that Zhong Ziqing, this energetic young man, had sharp eyes. Gong Ling and Zhuo Qingqing had just left when he appeared from a corner. He even handed Zhu Tui a bottle of immortal happiness water. Brother Zhu, you have so many women. I'm impressed. Zhong Ziqing laughed. There were only 2. Where did many come from? Zhong Ziqing was stunned into silence. This rebuttal made sense. Brother Zhu, are you going to cause trouble with Director Wen and the others from the supernatural branch? If they want to scam me, I naturally have to scam them back. Zhu Tui laughed coldly. He did not give Zhong Ziqing too much of an explanation. He only pointed at the 10 arenas and said, help me keep an eye on these arenas. If there are any supernatural type who are able to stand firmly in the top 100, call out to me. I'll break their legs. One break their legs, okay. Don't worry, Brother Zhu. Zhong Ziqing nodded vigorously. On the far side of the arena, Wen Xiao had a gloomy expression. There were more than 20 seated candidates from the supernatural branch surrounding him, but no one went up to challenge the rankings. He had sent 5 people, but one of them lost. 4 of them successfully challenged the arena and obtained a ranking. However, 3 of them had their legs broken by Zhu Tui. Shen Ziyu had been forced off the stage by Zhu Tui. The other student had been kicked off the stage by the students from the extreme branch, either because of Wen Xiao's instructions or because he had been affected. Up until now, no one from the supernatural branch of the mystery branch was able to maintain their ranking on the Longhu list. The entire Longhu list seemed to have become a competition between the students of the extreme branch. Of course, it was not that there were no students from the mystery branch who went up to challenge the ranking. There were still some. There were more than 800 new students in this year's mystery branch, other than the School of Enlightened Mind and the Radiation Influence branch, who had been doing nothing, and the School of General Senses, who was following the Radiation Influence branch. There were also some students in the Supernatural branch who had special abilities but no combat power. There were at least 500 to 600 students in the Mystery branch who had the combat power to fight in the arena. However, as mentioned before, the overall strength of Mystery branch was slow. Other than the 25 seeded candidates selected by Wen Xiao, the other students had combat strength and could also go on stage to challenge. However, Zhu Tui did not even need to make a move. The students from the extreme branch would be able to defeat the students from the supernatural branch who were not strong enough. Therefore, in the supernatural branch, the ones who had a real chance of making it into the top 100 of the Year 1 Longhu list and bringing points to the supernatural branch's teaching assessment were actually the 25 seeded candidates that Wen Xiao had chosen. Actually, Wen Xiao had selected 29 seeded contestants yesterday. There were 19 people that Wen Xiao was certain could enter the top 100 of the Longhu list. However, today, there were only 15 people around Wen Xiao who could enter the top 100 of the Longhu list. There were also 10 secondary seed candidates. Whether or not they could enter the top 100 of the Longhu list would depend on their own strength. Of course, even if they killed their way in, their rankings would not be high. They would probably be around the 90th place or even below that. Therefore, the main points for the teaching assessment still depended on the 15 reliable seeded players that Wen Xiao had selected. Oh, there were 13 left now. 2 of them had their legs broken by Zhu Tui just now. The problem now was that the remaining 13 students all had the ability to challenge and obtain a ranking on the Longhu list, but none of them were a match for Zhu Tui. Wen Xiao was certain that Zhu Tui would break the legs of anyone who went up. Therefore, Wen Xiao did not dare to send another student onto the stage until the ranking battle was held at noon. Wouldn't they be giving Zhu Tui a broken leg if he sent them? Wen Xiao would never do such a stupid thing. At 12 o'clock, the bell signaling the end of the ranking battle rang. Wen Xiao instructed the students to seize the afternoon to recover their mind power before rushing to the Mystery Branch's office building. By now, the situation had become very serious. Wen Xiao had to discuss the strategy with his teacher, Zheng Shahan, and think of a way to solve this problem.